You watching this video, yes you. Are you tired of getting bodied in endgame content? Well, do I have just the video for you. Not only are you going to be more knowledgeable of how to manage your resources in the future, but your damage is going to skyrocket by the end of this video. So let's get straight into it. These are some of the best ways that your damage can skyrocket in Honkai Star Rail. So one of the biggest mistakes that I commonly see on accounts is people not investing in their hyper carries. The reason why they're called hyper carries is because they can legitimately carry your accounts to do an ungodly amount of damage. So characters like Kafka, Seela, Jingliu, Dr. Ratio, everyone should have a Dr. Ratio, we all got them for free. These are the kinds of characters that you're really going to want to all in. So what my recommendation is, pick 2, maybe 3 DPS that you know you're not going to replace for a while, and just really all in on it. And I know it's going to be expensive. You're looking at this and it's like, man, it's a lot of resources, but this is what you need to do in order to make sure you are doing the absolute most possible damage. So get their crit ratio, make sure you're getting good relics. These are the characters that you absolutely need to all in on. Now, contrary to my first tip, my second advice is actually be careful of over-investing, especially on supports. Now, I'll go ahead and explain what I mean by that. So you're going to want to avoid things like giving everybody level 80, upgrading unnecessary talents, and to some extent, focusing too hard on relics. So as an example, if we were to go to like Trailblazer here, and if I were to go to her skill, and if I go to next skill, do I really need a 1% damage reduction? Probably not. Or if I were to go to Huahua, who I was just highlighted on, anything past level 2 basic skills is honestly pretty negligible. And you may be thinking, oh, well, upgrading it, it's better than nothing. But you have to consider it this way. Any resource that I put into this talent that doesn't really do a whole lot is one less resource that I'm going to have for her talent, or her ultimate, or anything of that sort for a future abundance character. So that's something else that you need to prioritize. So this tip is very important. My third tip is you're going to want to avoid bringing too much sustain. You typically only are going to want to bring 1 healer or 1 preservation throughout your runs. And there is a way to mitigate damage without having that secondary sustain unit. As an example, you can bring someone like Clara, who has the ability to pull aggro with her ultimate. Whenever she gets attacked, she also does a follow-up damage. So not only are you pulling aggro, but you're also dishing out damage as well. And if you pair that with someone like Asa Lynx or March 7th, who are both free-to-play characters by the way, if you use their skill, it will greatly increase the chances of destruction or preservation characters being attacked. So again, you are providing sustain to the character who is being the tank, and on top of that, you are dishing out damage as well. Now, I understand not everybody has a Clara, but there are multiple examples. For another example, Ron May, whenever you pop her ultimate, whenever a character is weakness broken, it extends the period that they are weakness broken, so not only will you be doing more damage to them, but they are also not going to be doing damage to you because they are also weakness broken. And another example is slows, so characters like Welts whenever they pop their skill, or if you have a fantastic breaker like Su Shuang. These kinds of characters are the kinds of characters that you want to consider whenever sustaining and also dishing out damage as well. This is a very, very big tip. I strongly recommend looking at what your arsenal, seeing what you get, because typically if they die, that's the best form of sustain. For my next tip, I strongly recommend you knowing how to master your SP management, because basic attacks are much more useful than you may give credit to. As an example, if you have Silverwolf, she has a base chance to apply either attack reduction or defense or speed each time that she attacks. And it doesn't have to be her skill, it could just be a basic. So even though she is like just using a very basic attack, she is also still providing support to the team while giving SP as well. Or if you have characters like Kafka, her ability, whenever she does her talent, she does a follow-up attack that also provides shock, and she does that once per turn. So knowing when to use your skills and when to basic attack can be very, very helpful. As an example, Asta, she has the ability to apply burn with her basic attack, and that counts as a debuff. Well, if you're using someone like Dr. Ratio, he's someone who actually wants, characters that have debuffs. And the more debuffs that they have, the more likely he is going to do his follow-up, which is where his greatest points of damage are coming from. So learning how to basic attack and when to use them effectively is going to be very, very important to making sure that your damage is doing absolutely as much as possible. Another example would be like Sela. Whenever she pops her resurgence, she gets a big damage bonus. Well, if you see someone who's about to die, you may want to consider using her basic attack. So not only are you popping the resurgence, so she's getting another turn, but you are also getting another move so she can use her skill and do the maximum damage that she possibly can. Alright, and for this tip, I strongly recommend just focusing on the basics, which, duh, forehead, yeah, I could have guessed that. But you'd be surprised how many people I have seen have neglected that. Things like your traces, your light cones. Bad example, subscribe for more, y'all. But really, you don't need anything more than 3 or 4 light cones, and that's really it. I've seen so many accounts that have just level 70s, level 60 light cones, and that's a big part of where your damage is coming from. Some people also don't like to refine, so as an example, the swordplay really should be refined with the swordplay, which I'm probably going to do in just a moment here. But it's things like that that really make the difference. Focus on the basics, focus on your talents, focus on the guaranteed upgrades that you know for sure are going to make a big difference on your account, and you'd be surprised on the things that you'll be able to achieve. So after watching this video, how do you guys feel? Do you feel a little bit smarter? Maybe you'll be able to tack on Memory of Chaos level 12. But this kind of advice is nothing different than what I would have given my friends and family. And to some of y'all, this might seem very simple, but you'd be surprised on how often I see these kinds of mistakes being made. So if your damage is not where you would want it to be, I strongly recommend that you take some of this advice and apply it to your account to see how you see fit. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, subscribe for more.